Welcome to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G. This podcast is all about connecting the community with the thought leaders of business and entertainment in the cannabis industry. As this industry expands and becomes more and more mainstream, we want to educate and entertain our listeners and become your choice and voice for all things cannabis. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive Pot Made of the Month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit. Welcome to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have an awesome guest, Mr. Ethan Zohn, the winner. $1 million winner of Survivor Africa, the third season of Survivor. He's a current cast member of Survivor Winners at War. But more importantly, we're going to get into his life story, beating cancer twice. And he's looking great. He's feeling great. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk about his GrassRoot soccer organization that he started. We're going to talk about the different shows he's been on, obviously get into Survivor. But Ethan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. I want you to give the background because I can't do it justice. Let's talk about you first. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? And tell us how you came to get on Survivor. And then I really want to hit about the health stuff. That's super important.
Sure. Born and raised in Massachusetts, a little small town outside of Boston called Lexington, Massachusetts, famous for Paul Revere and the shot heard around the world. Actually today, which is April 20th, is a big day in Massachusetts. It's the Patriots Day. So normally it's the Boston Marathon. We got a big reenactment, and that's not happening, unfortunately, because of what's going on in the world. But yeah, born and raised in Massachusetts, went to college in upstate New York. And then after I graduated college, I traveled the world playing soccer. And I ended up playing soccer professionally for 6 years. And one of those years was in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, when I was playing in the Zimbabwe Premier League. And after the whole soccer thing went down, and that's when the television show Survivor came into my life. And what an incredible experience that was.
Yeah, I can imagine. That must be amazing. So we're going to dive into that. So you were first hit with a type of blood cancer, correct? And what year was that?
Yeah, so the timeline for my trajectory was, professional soccer was in the 2000s. Then I went on Survivor in 2002 and 2004. And then I was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer in 2009.
Now, were you feeling bad, or was there symptoms, or you just went for a normal test? Give us a little, history into how that came about for you, how you found out.
Yeah, I was 35 years old, on top of the world. I was actually training for the New York City Marathon. And I was just like a happy, healthy young guy, And I had some really itchy skin, like debilitatingly itchy skin. And I tried every pill, cream, potion, lotion known to man. And it wasn't until a swollen lymph node popped out of my neck and they found a 6 centimeter by 12 centimeter mass in my chest. And I was diagnosed with CD20 positive Hodgkin's lymphoma. Trust me, I had never heard of it either at the time. And, I went through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, 22 blasts of radiation. I went through an autologous stem cell transplant, which is when you use your body's own stem cells to try to cure the cancer. And unfortunately, that didn't work. And so I had to do it all over again. I was in remission for about 20 months, which everyone was really excited about. The doctors were, pumped. But like I said, 20 months later, I relapsed and the cancer came back. And that was, for me, absolutely sideswiped. My whole life was turned upside down because I'd just been through it and I thought I was on the path to perfect health. And then it just happened all over again. And, while all my friends were just starting their lives, I'm hitting the pause button on mine, and I had to go through chemo and radiation all over again. And running out of options, pissed off, scared, frustrated, like I didn't want to die, obviously. And lucky for me, at that exact moment in time, just when I needed it the most, this new smart targeted therapy emerged on the market and was available for a select group of people in my exact situation. So I was able to get on this experimental new drug, got me into remission again. I was able to go on to get a second stem cell transplant, this time using my brother Lee as the donor.
Wow, that's incredible, man. And you kicked its ass twice. I'm happy to, say, I know everybody's listening on audio, but you look great. I got you on video here and you look fantastic. You're one of the most popular TV personalities, so it's easy to root for you. And we're just so happy that you're feeling great and looking great. So now that has been several years that you've been in good shape, correct?
Yeah, I'm going on 8 years now.
Wow, congrats, man.
Yeah, so yeah, it feels really good.
That's fantastic. And we're recording this on 420, like you said earlier, so that's fantastic. It's beautiful. Right? Excellent guest. All right, so now tell me, obviously this is a cannabis-related show as well. Had the cannabis plant, had it helped you during your treatment, during your recovery? If so, how?
Yeah, so I have a decent connection with cannabis. I was never really into using it recreationally growing up. In college, I never touched the stuff until second semester of my senior year, and I just kind of felt like I had to because I wanted to do something crazy in college. But I was an athlete, so I never touched the stuff. A lot of my friends used it recreationally. And so it just was never part of my lifestyle. However, when I got diagnosed with cancer, it became part of my healing process, more specifically just to mitigate the side effects of cancer treatments. And I was living in New York City at the time. There wasn't a doctor on staff that was really knowledgeable about medical cannabis. And I was going to like a drug dealer in New York City. Literally, like I was in mask, gloves, bald from chemo. I'm freaking walking down a street corner, meeting a drug dealer who's selling all sorts of drugs, not just cannabis. And like, I didn't know like the quality, the potency, mold, pesticides, any of that stuff. So it was a really scary experience on top of the fact that I was already scared out of my wits because I was going through cancer. So it wasn't a great experience, getting it, acquiring it. However, it made me feel really good. Like I was popping multiple pills prescribed, of course, every night to get to bed, like Ativan for anxiety, Zofran for nausea, Percocet for pain, Zoloft for my mood, right? Ambien to sleep, just to get to bed. And then in the morning, I'd be popping an Adderall just to like get myself enough energy to get in a taxi to go to the doctor. So like it was this horrible cycle I was in. And I just wanted to kind of try to do something a little bit more, get away from the synthetics and try to do something a little bit more natural. And cannabis played a huge part in that. I didn't smoke it. I ate it at the time, making my own kind of butter for brownies type situation. And so it definitely helped, like I was a lot nicer to be around. I wasn't a complete asshole in the mornings, I could sleep. It stimulated my appetite because I was losing a significant amount of weight. So it was just like a perfect situation for me. And then I kind of got off it once I was in remission. It wasn't part of my lifestyle. I didn't really need it. And now once, something's interesting about going through cancer, and I'll try to explain it. Like when a doctor tells you to do something or you'll die, you pretty much do it. There's no choice. It's not that difficult. However, for me, after cancer, like when they said, hey, dude, you're in remission, like you're all better, like my life's supposed to just snap back to what it once was. They send me home with all these prescription medicines. I'm different. My friends are different. I have to interact with the world differently. I'm living an isolated lifestyle after this. Like my life just doesn't go back to normal. So I had an incredible amount of anxiety and fear that my cancer would come back again. And I just started really getting into a really bad place, a lot of destructive thoughts. I was ruminating over these what if scenarios in my life. What if I die? What if the chemo doesn't work? What if I get married? What if I have kids? What if I find a job? Like all this stuff. And I couldn't get out of this loop. And I just wasn't living. I wasn't living my life. And I got into CBD, live rosin CBD. And I started taking that almost like a multivitamin every morning. And it really helped significantly. It like dropped my anxiety levels. I was able to just function a little bit better on a daily basis. It balanced me out a little bit. I could sleep a little bit better. And that was a really unbelievable experience and discovery for me because I never knew of CBD or thought of CBD. And then I got involved with it. And if I need something a little heavier, I'll use more of like a 1-to-1 CBD to THC ratio in a tincture form.
Yep. So I think you hit on, we had a friend that had leukemia and he used cannabis in different forms as well. And I want to be clear, this is not to be used, and I think you just hit on all of it, not to be used to cure the disease, but it's allow your body to remove some of the pain, remove the anxiety, definitely eat, right? Because that's a big deal during treatment. A lot of people lose appetite and lose weight and they wither away. That takes away some of those items. So then your body can concentrate on fighting the disease instead of those other items. Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate. And in addition to that, it freed my mind a little bit. Obviously the physical stuff that it was helping with, yes, but the freedom of thought and, being able to get out of these loops of thoughts, of destructive thoughts, that wasn't helping me. I was just stunted. I was stalled. I was just not living a life that I was proud of at the time. And this stuff just eased that thought. It was like taking a deep breath, It's like, oh, okay. And just like take a deep breath. Now I can kind of focus. I can stay present. I can get on with my day versus spending my entire day thinking about the stuff that may or may not happen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, and we have a lot of government agencies and doctor and medical agencies that listen to this show that we're partnered with. Please listen to this man, because that's the story of why we need to make this medically legal federally and help these people that are dealing with health issues really help their body attack it from a different way. So Ethan, thanks so much for sharing that part of it. And that's the happiest part of this show, but let's get into some fun, and that's Survivor, of course. So let's go.
Survivor? What is that? Cancer Survivor?
I think I've seen it once or twice. I don't know. So anyway, it's funny. I told you off the air, my wife's a huge fan. She's never missed an episode of all the thousands of seasons that have been on. So I got into it a few years ago because we watch it as a family with my daughters. So, we're rooting for you this year, obviously. It's in the middle of the season when we're recording this, and you're still sitting on the edge of extinction, I believe. So let's get back to when you won. So now we're talking about season 3. You're in Africa. Give us a few highlights of what that felt like. And then I don't remember back then, did they reveal it live or was it right at the end of the normal taping? Tell us about that when you won.
Sure. So just to put things into perspective for everyone, the first season of Survivor was in 1999. Yeah. I played Survivor 3, which was in 2001. And then I played again for an All-Stars in 2004. And then I basically took 16 years off, went through a lot of shit in my life.
I think you were a little busy with other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, right? And then now I came back now. So it's currently airing Wednesday night, CBS, 8 p.m. And yes, they brought back, it's called Season 40, Winners at War. They brought back 20 of the most popular winners of all time to compete for not $1, but $2 million, an incredible amount of bragging rights. So just to put things into perspective on the trajectory of reality TV. So back in the day, so I was chosen to be on Survivor Africa, which is filmed in Kenya. And it was an incredible experience. I was just coming off my playing career. I was, fit, young. I didn't have many, things to worry about in my life at that time.
And you had the crazy hair, right? You had the big crazy hair. I remember that. Yeah.
I was like the curly haired Jewish soccer player guy. Like that was me. That was it. Now I'm like the old neurotic Jewish guy that's balding. So, that's where I come into these days. So yeah, just to be in Africa, we were living right in the Shaba National Reserve and we had wild animals all around. And the game itself is a little bit different than what the game is now. If you are a Survivor fan, you know what's happened in the show. So back in the day, it was a different game, not better or worse, just different. And it was a great experience. And I guess for me, the highlight was, it was never really about the money for me. It was more about the adventure and winning this title of Survivor Africa champion, because no one can take that away from you. The money's going to go, trust me, but no one can take away that title.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now when you won, was it a live show like they do now back then? So they announced it live?
They announced it live. There was only one season where they didn't announce live, and that was the first one. And they realized, okay, it's hard to keep this a secret for so long.
Right. That's great, man. So that must have been awesome. Now, do they actually wire you $1 million? Is that true?
They give you one of those giant cardboard checks.
You have to walk around with it for a while.
You have to walk around. Getting it into the ATM was virtually impossible.
That's great. That's great. Well, congrats on that win for sure.
Thank you.
All right. So now give us some behind the scenes. are you guys really on your own? Do you really have to fend for yourself and find food in the ocean or whatever it is? Or did they actually hook you up a little bit? Is it really what it looks like?
I have been on a lot of reality shows. Some I'm proud of, some I'm not so proud of. But, I've done Survivor, Fear Factor, Amazing Race, Apprentice, eco challenge. So I've been around to see production values, and I personally believe Survivor, in my opinion, has been the most like legit kind of storytelling and authentic storytelling of all those shows. So I think they did a really good job at kind of capturing who you are as a person. And I always, to be honest, like once you take away food, you take away water, you're tired, you're hungry, you're thirsty, your true person comes out. Like unless you're the best actor or actress in the world, you can't hide from the camera 24 hours a day. So the people that come back and they're like, oh my God, like you edited me to look like a bitch. I'm like, well, you really are a bitch. You've just never seen yourself on TV before, So I think they did a really good job. So behind the scenes, there's just a lot of downtime that they edit out. There isn't too much action. Like you don't need to create drama on a show like Survivor because everyone's so, like I said, so hungry and thirsty, and you're doing anything you could possibly do to win $1 million. So they can make you do anything they really want because the drama comes up itself. They don't have to create that drama for you.
Yeah, so it's not, so Survivor is really not like a scripted reality show. It's really happening, and they're just taking the highlights and keying on the storylines they like, I guess, for TV, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so some of the other shows that you were on, were they a little more scripted and, okay, here's what you should do now to get some drama? A little bit more, I guess?
A little bit. There's situations that were manufactured to create the drama. Amazing Race, that was pretty legit. That was hardcore legit. But some of the other ones, yeah. Like, well, can you say it this way?
Right. Now, you were on The Apprentice with Donald Trump or no?
I was a guest, yeah. So when he was the host, yeah. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I wasn't a main character. I was just there for a couple of days because one of the celebrities, Richard Hatch, who was on Survivor, was playing for my charity, GrassRoot Soccer. And so I was kind of there as a guest for that day and to help do all the interviews and stuff.
That's pretty neat. Whether you love him or hate him, it's cool to be involved with a president, former or past or present, right? So that's pretty neat.
I was also a judge on the Miss Universe pageant in 2003, where he was the owner of the Miss Universe pageant at the time.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
If you're a political pundit, you can go back and research what actually happened in 2002 at that pageant in terms of connection with Russia. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Incredible. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about Winners at War, the current season that's going on right now. And it's, I guess, halfway through or maybe a little more than that right now as we're recording this. One of the recent episodes was pretty cool was all the families came to visit everybody. And they even brought them to the edge of extinction as well, which is pretty neat. So talk about, do you know that's happening, or is that a complete surprise when the families show up, or do you know, like you get a sense, okay, it's family day soon? Like, do you know any of that ahead of time, or is it just boom, surprise?
For us, it was a boom surprise. One, it came kind of in the trajectory of the show. It came about a week early. So as a contestant, like when there's around final 6, that's when the family visit happens. So there was a lot more people there. We never expected the family visit would happen. And 2, based on the last season they did The Edge of Extinction, which was season 38, they did not have a family visit. So I never even imagine that they would gift us with the present of having a family member there, because the Edge of Extinction is literally the worst place on earth. They send you there to crush your soul. They want you to give up and pull this flag and go home, so they make it as horrible as possible. There's very little food. There's no shelter. There's barely any water. There's nothing to do. It's literally purgatory. It's a world between life and death. That's what it's like. So when they sent our family members there, it was, a moment I will never forget for the rest of my life. It was traumatizing for my wife, but it was very incredible for me.
Yeah, it seemed very emotional on TV when we watched it, especially when you saw your wife. That was pretty cool. And I know Boston Rob and his wife are contestants on the show, and their kids came running up, right? So that must have been pretty cool for them. So it was pretty neat to see the extended family this season instead of just one spouse or a family member. They had the kids. Yeah, that was pretty cool to watch. I know my wife and daughters had the little, tear in their eye for that, for sure. But that was pretty cool. So
thank you.
I'm happy you experienced that part of it.
So it's funny just because it's, we're talking about a cannabis show. So like when you go through all the medical, right? I'm a, medical cannabis user. I have my, cards in multiple different states. So I asked CBS and the CBS docs if I could bring out cannabis. They said no. I'm like, well, can I bring out CBD? They're like, no, because it's illegal in Fiji. So
that was my next question. I can't believe you asked that. We were going to ask, like, can you bring, if you have a medical exemption, can you bring it? So they said no.
Like they allow you prescription medicine. Like I have some pills that I need to take because of my cancer that consistently for my life. They let me take that. And I tried to make the case, like, listen, like, this is part of my toolkit to keep me sane. Like, I don't know what's going to happen if I don't have CBD for 39 days. Like, Survivor's already stressful enough. And I'm like a naturally like neurotic guy anyway. So like, take me away from my wife and my cats and my home and my CBD. You send me on Survivor and I'm away from everything I'm comfortable with. I don't have my family around me. There's all the assholes around me on the show. There's stress of the game itself. And then I have no medicine like CBD. I was nervous to see what would happen. I take it consistently every single day. So like I was about to go cold turkey, and I obviously made the choice to get off all cannabis and all CBD for about 2 months prior to leaving for the show, just because I got off caffeine, I got off sugar, I got off cannabis, I got off CBD, because I wanted my body to like settle a little bit before I went out there again. But it was hard for me to do.
Yeah, I mean, and it just proves it's another microcosm of what we spoke about earlier. I mean, and what you said, big pharma is pumping you with these pills during any kind of health issue, yet they won't approve a natural plant that patients are telling them, this helps me, I need it. Even a big global production like that knows your history and they still won't let you bring what you need. I mean, that's
I know. I mean, nature is the world's pharmacy. I don't want to get all hippie on you, but
right.
You know, one of the drugs that I used for cancer, it's called vincristine, and it was derived from a rare African flower called the rosy periwinkle. And so like, okay, well, here you got a chemotherapy derived from a plant. Like, why can't I have like a CBD, like live rosin, the way we process it at the farm I'm involved with? Like, it's literally just a giant rosin press. We're taking the exact fingerprint of the plant. We're squeezing it like an orange, like orange juice, the stuff that drips out. That's what you're taking. There's no solvents. There's no negative aspects to it. It's not a drug. You're literally squeezing this plant and drinking the juice.
Yeah.
You know, like, what's wrong with that? So it fascinates me and it confuses me on kind of what's going on in the world with that stuff.
Yeah, seems pretty simple. So hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later. All right, so let's get back real quick. When you won the original Survivor 3 Africa, you started GrassRoot Soccer as a foundation. Is that still active? And can you tell everybody what it was when it started and what it grew to be? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you heard me mention, like, before the actual TV show Survivor, I lived and played professional soccer in Zimbabwe. And while I was there, I was witnessing firsthand what was happening with HIV and AIDS and how it was just destroying this community that I was now a part of. And one of my friends, the starting goalkeeper, got sick with HIV, kicked off the team, ostracized from the community, and lived a really horrible end of his life. And didn't really know what to do about it at that time in my life. Fast forward to Survivor, went on Survivor, and I won a reward challenge on Survivor where I won goats. I wasn't so happy about the goats, but I went to this village called Wamba, and I started just playing soccer with these kids in the parking lot of a hospital in Wamba in the middle of Kenya. Couldn't speak the language, couldn't talk to them, but we were smiling and laughing and giggling through the sport that we both loved and the language that we understand. And before I left, I asked one of the nurses, why are these kids just hanging out in the parking lot of a hospital? And she says, well, these are all the kids that are HIV positive. Wow. So here I was in the middle of this game, this cutthroat game of Survivor, and had that real life experience. And because kind of that moment, I decided, okay, if this goes well for me, I'm going to use the money and the whatever fame goes along with this show to do something good in the world. And so met up with some soccer buddies of mine, Dr. Tommy Clark, Kirk Friedrich, Matembe, and Lovu, and we created GrassRoot Soccer. And we are an adolescent health organization that uses the power of soccer to help young kids make healthier choices in life.
That's beautiful, man. Beautiful. I'm sure you're very proud of that. Probably more proud of than the Survivor win, I would think, in your soul there, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what started as just an idea with 4 dudes. Like, we're now in 60 countries. We graduated 2.7 million kids from the program. So it's something that we're incredibly proud of.
That's great. And what else do you have going on right now? What else are you doing daily? You know, what are you doing? Well, not right now. It's quarantine time as we're taping this during the Corona
I've been preparing
debacle.
for this moment my whole life. I'm like, you know, I live in the middle of the woods. I got my own water source. I got a chest freezer full of meat. You know, I got growing a garden. I heat my house with wood. There's a lake. Like, this is it. Like, I feel okay right now. So I made that choice a few years ago to leave the city to get kind of more connected to nature in that way. So I feel okay with that. But part of this, to be honest, was cannabis is huge for me. CBD is huge. So I wanted to get involved with the industry. So I've gotten involved in a couple different ways. One is I'm an investor in a farm called Montkush. It's in Plainfield, Vermont. And we create high altitude, sun-grown, organic hemp. And we use, like I said, our processing is solvent-free. We use a giant rosin press called the Sasquatch. And so we have, a line of products. You can visit the website if you so choose. But the fun thing about this is we filmed the whole thing for a reality show.
Really?
And,
nice.
yes. So the guy who owns the farm is this guy named Anthony Sullivan. If the name rings a bell, then it means you watch late night TV and you watch all the OxyClean commercials. He's like, hey, I'm Anthony Sullivan and this is OxyClean. Yes. So, keep your whites and all that stuff. So his daughter has a genetic disorder and he got her on CBD and it completely transformed her life and got her off of the prescription meds she's on. And he's like, all right, if I'm going to feed this to my daughter, I want to know how it's grown and processed. So he bought a farm. And then I was like, well, if you're going to put that stuff in your daughters, I want to know what's going in my body. So I moved up there, I, planted, I harvested, I processed. I wanted to see from start to finish what this was like for me, just because if I was going to sell a product and put a product inside me, I wanted to know all this stuff and get my hands dirty a little bit. So we're involved in the farm. It's really exciting for me. And we got this reality show coming out, the guy that did Monster Garage, Ice Road Truckers, Deadliest Catch, Pawn Stars, all that stuff. Same guy, his name's Tom Beers. So it should be a really fun, exciting show. And it premieres I think it's going to be premiere in the late summer, fall.
Oh, that's great. Congrats. So where can our listeners find out more? Either follow you on social or check out the website for your farm or GrassRoot Soccer. Can you just bang those out for everybody?
You bet. So you can visit my website, ethanzohn.com. Montkush.com is the farm, grassrootsoccer.org. And if you do go to Montkush and you want to get anything, we're having a sale. Type in the code Survivor50 and you'll get 50% off anything on the site because of today and because of me. So yeah, enjoy it. The stuff's really good. Obviously, I'm completely biased, but I wouldn't put my name behind anything that I didn't believe in or get involved with in a deep way. And the one last thing I'll plug about myself, and I appreciate you allowing me to talk so much about myself. That's really kind of you. But part of everything I do, it always involves philanthropy and charity, and it doesn't change with the whole the cannabis stuff too. So with the guy that I started GrassRoot Soccer with, we started an organization called Safe Roots Foundation. And what we believe, cannabis is good for public health, but we also believe if more kids start misusing cannabis, it's bad for the kids, bad for the industry. So we, through our fund, Safe Roots Foundation, we raise money from the cannabis industry, and then we fund the best evidence-based teenage drug prevention programs across the country. We just feel that the cannabis industry as a whole has a role to play in making sure kids aren't misusing drugs. And so we taken everything we learned from GrassRoot Soccer and we're applying it to the cannabis industry and trying to change some behaviors of these young boys and girls to make some healthier choices around using cannabis and drugs and alcohol.
That's fantastic, man. And we'll put all those things in the show notes so everybody can click and learn more about it. Ethan Zohn, winner of Survivor Africa, current Winners at War, all-star everything, and most important, kicked cancer's ass twice. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on the show.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. And we'll see everyone next time on the Pot.Live podcast. Have you visited MJ.com? MJ.com is the online destination where you can find everything you need to know about the emerging legal marijuana industry. Where else can you find the latest original content, news, and trends? Connect to a local doctor to obtain your medical marijuana card, receive exclusive brand savings, and have your favorite product delivered straight to your front door? MJ.com has it all. Go check them out.